Hello, friends. 789 days of war between Russia and Ukraine. In southern war zone on Kherson front, Antonovsky Bridge as well as Krinky Bridgehead is being held by the Ukrainians. In latter part, only 50%, no changes. On Zaporizhia front in Orikho sector, Robotin, where Russians have taken over 30% and fight is continuing in the center and also in the southeast and towards Verbov, the fight is going on towards northwest of it, no changes. Similar situation in Rimivki salient, there are fights towards Steromayorsky and Eurozane, no changes though. In east on Marinka front, after having taken over Novomikhailovka, the Russians have started advancing towards Paraskovivka, though it will take time to reach them to Paraskovivka. However, as Ukrainian army claims that they still have positions in Novomikhailovka in west as well as some odd posts in north also. However, they hold only 7 to 8% of Novomikhailovka. Mashi Nostritel is totally taken over by the Russians. Pobeda, no changes. West of Marinka, that is Georgievka, Russian army advanced little bit towards southeast of it, while in Krasnogorovka they made good gains and now almost hold 30% of it. Coming to Avdiivka, Nevelsky side, Russian army made gains from the eastern side, Pervomaisky. There have been no changes in and around. Yasno Brodovka positional battle continues. West of Avdiivka in Orlovka sector, Umansky fight continues in the southeastern outskirts, while towards Semyonovka, where Russians hold 90%, they made another gains of 100 meters. Ukrainians hold positions in north and northwest of this village. This is contrary to earlier claims that Russians have taken over Semyonovka. Berdichi, Ukrainians claim that they still hold some portion of it in northwest, but they will not be unable to continue holding because of Russians' offensive operations. And there are other claims that Berdichi has fallen to the Russians. North of Avdiivka, that is towards Novobakhmutovka, Russian armies of offensive operation continues. Similar is situation in Okeretino. Novokalinovka, Russians made some gains and now hold 40% of it. Bakhmut in southern flank Klishivka, Russians made some small gains, while towards Chasiv Yar in Krasnoye, Ukrainians still claim to hold about 2% of the village in northeast. In the eastern suburb of Chasiv Yar, Russian army's offensive operation continues, while towards Kalinovka, Russians have entered from the southwest. Bogdanovka, Ministry of Defense of Russia claims that it has totally captured this place, and in north of Soledar-Siversk region, Vimka as well as Varkhany Kaminsky, no changes. Bulgorovka fight continues. And as far as Eastern Front is concerned, from Marinka to Siversk region, Russians have made good gains. In northern Ukraine, Liman-Terny direction fight continues towards Yampolovka and Terny on Eastern Front, nothing towards Kupiansk direction. ISW in its report says that Russian army made gains towards east of Okeretino and have probably seized Berdichi, though they can't certify it. Interdiction missions, Ukrainians hit Russian targets in Sevastopol, Bryansk and other regions, while Russians continue hitting Ukrainian targets in Odessa and other regions. Palestine Israel Middle East. In North Gaza, IDF carried out series of strikes, while in center, IDF is demolishing various buildings in Al Maghazi and Az Zawaida, while in southern Gaza bombarded Rafah and adjacent areas. West Bank Israeli securities raids continuing, while on Lebanon border counter shelling continues. Massive protests in support of Palestine and to end the war in Ukraine and elsewhere continuing globally. It's a huge one and rising. People's anger is rising more and more against the imperialist powers and their ensuring war as business to hold their profit rate as high as possible. More military aids have been approved by the USA and will be reaching to Israel as well as Ukraine. Will they change or turn the tide of the war in Ukraine? I doubt, but let us see. Yes, the agony of Ukrainian people is likely to increase, and so the destruction of the people in Gaza and surrounding areas. And of course, as I have been saying earlier, the profit rate as far as the war industries are concerned is superb and maintained very, very high. And this is the lifeline of imperialism capitalism. The ugly face of election campaign and the process can be seen in India if one has to see, in addition to what is happening in USA. The so-called democracies are actually meant anti-people and for the capitalist class and their political parties. Nothing absolutely for the people. It's just a joke of the entire system. And that's all. Thank you, friends.